$5 on Amazon, well spent. So if you tuned into my last video, you know those are the top 10 movies that I like but everyone else hates. Now it's time for the flip-flop. The other side. The alternate universe, if you will. Movies I hate but everyone else loves. Let's get right down to it. Number 10, Sherlock Holmes. This is last on the list because I'm a biased opinion on this. I didn't watch the whole movie. I only watched the first 10 minutes of it. Mainly because I was about to fall asleep in the middle of the movie. And I decided to go to bed. But what little I saw, I really hated. It's just... Robert Downey Jr. seems to have a problem. Lately he's just been playing such thoroughly unlikable characters. Like, there's him in Iron Man 2, and somewhat in Due Date, and now this. Sherlock Holmes was so unlikable, I wanted to punch him in the face. He was just such a jerk. He was just insulting everyone. He was just doing the most awful, heinous things, and it's just... When that's your lead, you know you have a problem. And it's just... What little I saw, it was too confusing. It was... I didn't get a sense of a real... In anything. I left before... I was gone before the main mystery was even introduced, so... It's just... What little I saw, this is why this is last on the list. It really failed to impress. Number 9, Tropic Thunder. Again, I'm of biased opinion on this, because I watched this movie on TV, where they cut out all the bad language, all the swearing, most of the big references, so the jokes probably weren't as funny. That's probably why I didn't like this movie, because I didn't think it was that funny for a comedy. The action was good for an action comedy, and it were genuine stakes. I liked some things about this movie, like Tom Cruise in the fat suit, that was epic. And if you can find the sketch of him directing Robert Pattinson and Taylor Lautner, definitely give that a look up. But ultimately, I thought this failed to impress for a comedy. Number 8, Mission Impossible 3. I've talked about this movie before. I've talked about a couple of the movies on this list before. And it's just, I think Mission Impossible 3 is just, I wouldn't call it a failure, but it's just a very bad movie. I mean, it's just, as I've said before, it's just, they kill off a character that we've never met before, and they make a giant deal about her death, and this is honestly the first time I've ever met this person, so how can they possibly expect us to care? And some of the action scene, there's too little action for people coming to that, and they made the massive mistake of showing the end of the movie first. So, like, there's no suspense whatsoever throughout the entire movie, because you know what's going to happen. But to be fair, they did throw a twist at us at the end, a twist about what they showed to us first. But still, it doesn't excuse them, because there was no suspense whatsoever. I wasn't like on the edge of my seat, like what's going to happen next or anything, because they showed us the ending first. Number 7, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Yeah, I love Harry Potter, for the record. I've read all the books. I think all the books are great. I love all the movies except for this one. And Half-Blood Prince, the book, I really enjoyed. I mean, I liked it a lot. But this movie, it did not do the book justice. But the problem is, the movie spent too little time on exposition. There was so little exposition in this movie. I mean, the Horcruxes, the biggest plot point in the history of Harry Potter. In the book, there was like an entire chapter dedicated to it. In the movie, they only said one word about it, and that's it. I mean, even I had read the book, even I knew what the Horcruxes were, and then by the time they were, introduced and everything, I was like, what just happened? I need to back up. And it's just, for people who aren't familiar with Harry Potter, no one's going to know about this movie or anything. Number 6, Click, with Adam Sandler. And I know this is either you love it or you hate it movie, but I know a lot of people who like this movie, so that's why it's on the list. And what a lot of people like about this movie is, again, one of the things I hate about it, is that it totally switches gears. Like, at first it's a comedy, but the jokes aren't very funny. I mean, the idea is kind of cool. It kind of has promise, even though some of it's stolen from Clockstoppers over here. And, but then they just totally switch gears and go into, like, the most heavy-handed drama you've ever seen in your life. I mean, I was crying and crying and crying, and I don't want to cry when I see a comedy. I mean, this was marketed, sold as a comedy. It's like the biggest mistake, the mistake they made in Why Did I Get Married 2. It was a comedy, and they sold it as a horror movie for some reason. Which, whoever came up with that marketing idea should be fired 20 times over. But I will say this: Adam Sandler is a good dramatic actor. I'm not the biggest Adam Sandler fan. I think my biggest education on him is Happy Gilmore. But that's pretty much all I have to say. Number 5, Quantum of Solace. And I'm not a big fan of James Bond. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't get interested in the franchise until a reboot comes along. Same with Batman or Transformers or anything. But I saw Casino Royale, and I liked Casino Royale. I think it's a very, very great movie. It's very well paced. It's very well laid out. There are some spectacular action scenes, and it's, again, has some serious drama. And some interesting twists and turns there. Great villain. It's a very intense poker game. And I was expecting a lot for the follow-up to that from Quantum of Solace. And it's from the director of Finding Neverland, which is a very good movie. And this was a horrible follow-up. I mean, it didn't have the grand scale or epicness of the first one. I mean, this one felt like it was just almost all action. It was just action for no real reason. And there was so little story, and what little there was very confusing. It was very hard to follow. I didn't understand any of it. And also, the plot twist in this movie makes the entire first movie and most of this movie pointless. Which is an absolute rip. I mean, I thought this was a terrible film. It was a horrible follow-up and a very pitiful excuse for a Bond movie. The Bond movies are normally of very high quality, and this one was not. Number 4, Iron Man 2. This was originally going to be Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, but just today I heard a lot of people say they loved Iron Man 2, so I'm gonna switch it out. Because I know there are a lot of people who hate Nick and Nora, but I know there are more people who love Iron Man 2. Again, I've talked about this movie before. It's just Tony Stark is just such a sorry. Tony Stark has just become thoroughly unlikable in this movie, and I did not like that. I did not like that he just becoming a jerk just for the sake of being a jerk. And it's just, and most of it was just talking, and it was just whoring out the Avengers movie. I mean, good God. The first one at the end of after the credits, it was just a fun little tag. Now they're just, if you don't know, if you're like, say you're a kid in like the year 2020, and you rent this movie without having any prior knowledge of this movie or the Incredible Hulk or Thor or the Avengers movie or anything, you're gonna be totally confused. You're gonna be like, absolutely lost. You'll be like, what's going on? What is this? Should I know what's going on here? Because the problem with this whole Avengers movie thing is that all these movies are meant to be experienced as they have been, like me, as you're experiencing them now in the theaters. And there's a massive problem with that, because it just automatically destroys the watch it again quality. I'm sorry, but I did not like this. Number 3, oh my god, you are going to flame me. I will be blocked. This is going to be the most controversial thing ever, and it's only number 3, Shrek 2. I am sorry. At first, I kind of liked it. At first, I found there are some things I like about this movie. I like Puss in Boots. Puss in Boots is great. He has a lot of good jokes. There are some good jokes. I like the idea of the happily ever after potion that turns Shrek human, and we get to see Fiona as a human again. That was a tad clever of an idea. But the main reason I did not like this movie was because of all the awkward conversations. I hate it in the movie when there's all these super awkward conversations, all these pauses, and like everyone like doesn't know what to say. Like in the movies, like the kids are all right or stuff like that. That's just cringeworthy, absolutely cringeworthy, and I hate it when they do that in movies, and they seem to be doing that so much lately. It was like chock full of them in Shrek 2. And I know I said in my previous video that I love Transformers 2 for actually putting some obstacles in Sam and Michaela's relationship. It's a tad hypocritical of me to say here that I did not like where they took Shrek and Fiona's relationship, because now they were just claws out at each other. They were just being absolutely yelling at each other, absolutely being horrible to each other. And this is a couple that we were followed through the first movie, and we were all excited to see them live happily ever after at the end of the first movie. And now they're in all these horrible trouble. Even in Shrek 4, they're still doing that. And it's just for a kids movie, that's some pretty rough stuff. And it also took some dark turns here and there, like with the fairy godmother and everything. It's not as dark as Shrek 4, obviously, but... And I actually think Shrek 3 is decent. It's not a disaster piece. It has some flaws here and there, and some one or two awkward moments, but not as much as this movie. It's just... I didn't like it, that's it. Number 2, I Am Legend. I've talked about this movie before. This is just like House of Night. It's absolute misery fest. There's nothing, no silver lining, no happy ending whatsoever. It's just misery. I remember, I've told you the story before. Me and my dad and my uncle, we saw this. So my mom, my aunt, my sister, and my cousin saw Enchanted. And when they came out of the theater all smiling and happy, and they saw me. I was sitting on the table like this, trying to block the memory of the movie from my brain. And they were like, whoa. They instantly got bummed out after seeing Enchanted, a Disney movie all about happy endings. It's just my reaction to the movie got them all bummed out. That says something. And I can kind of see why people would like this movie. I mean, I love Will Smith, and he actually did do a good job in this movie. He's a great actor. He could read the phone book, and I'd love it. Again, people would, Film Brain has said that someone watching someone read the phone book is dead boring, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But ultimately, it was just too miserable, too awful, too much terrible things, and I didn't like it. And the number one movie I hate but everyone else loves is The Breakup. Come on. You all saw this coming. I mean, this movie, I honestly can't see why people like this movie. It's the most boring thing. Insert the Nostalgia Critic boring song here, because the movie is all talking, and there are 2 jokes total. It was sold as a comedy when it's neither comedy, nor drama, nor it's no genre. The only genre is sleep-inducing. You have to make up a new genre to describe this movie. It's that bad. And I've talked about this movie before. There's really not much else to say. The breakup, it's all talking, and again, the bickering is just the awfulness to each other. It's not fun to watch. And I cannot for the life of me figure out why so many people like this movie. I've read a review that called it laugh out loud funny. And you must have been on serious crack, man, because there is nothing funny or enjoyable about this movie. I mean, it's a horrible comedy. It's not a comedy. It's not a comedy. It's no genre whatsoever, as I said. And, what else really can I say? I know I'm entitled to everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But my opinion is that this is a movie with no redeeming factors whatsoever. I can't see why you people like it. So, that's pretty much it. I'm out.